Sorry for the video earlier. I didn't realize my AC was blowing across the speaker of my phone. But the thing I was ranting about was all these people who are really bent out of shape about a conversation, just a conversation about reparations for descendants of slaves in America. Um, I'd like to preface what I'm about to say with a few things. One, I'm not the smartest man in the world. I never claimed to be. My children will tell you that I am definitely not that. My wife will express that quite adamantly, that I'm not the smartest man in the world. Um, I don't, I don't, fly a flag for any party per se. Democrat, Republican, Libertarian, whatever the hell group you're affiliated with. I think that they're good people who care about the greater good of everyone and not just themselves. And they represent, maybe a different ideal than most people will align themselves with. But for the most part, I don't care. If you're a good person, I'll vote for you, I'll support you, whatever. But I just had to get out the way for, who is a libertard or conservative, alt right, whatever the fuck. I don't know. Anywho, back to the point. People are upset about a simple conversation, right? I think it would be irresponsible of the U.S. government to just start handing out checks to a bunch of black folks and call it good. That's stupid. Um, a better idea would probably be to uh, give reparations in a form of tax breaks, um, access, uh, for higher education, vocational training, learning trades and business practices and stuff like that. Stuff that are going to help us, start to build wealth and equity, and stuff that will help us, kind of be competitive in those areas, not just, you know, locally, but, on an international type stage. So I think when it comes to that type of thing, I think doing those things would be more beneficial, to kind of make what was happening to our people a little bit better. Because when you think about it, you look at some of the urban development where a lot of black people are living in poverty and stuff, and those places don't need they need money, but they need people who look like us doing the right things to help those communities better. And I think that will pay higher dividends than just cutting everybody a check. Um, but again, it's just a conversation that people are upset about. Um, and they're really bent out of shape that, the whole, why are you guys special? Well, we're, we're giving money to Native Americans who we, destroyed, almost destroyed their culture, and eradicated a lot of their people and stole their land from them. So they're still getting paid right now, right? And they have some of those type of benefits for the people, and rightfully so. When you look at what we did to the Japanese during the World War, we put those guys in internment camps for a couple years. A couple years, they got paid. When you look at after the Civil War and all the farmers lost, half their, or all of their workforce, the U.S. government reimbursed them for, what I'm saying, to help them continue to, do what they needed to do in order to survive. Um, yeah, there were some strides made back in the day to give, slaves some land and property, but again, you do a little Google search and you find out what was really happening to those people, how they were, being murdered and threatened to give up their land and they had no protection. Yeah, that kind of went by the wayside. So what I would propose is, you know, training teaching the youth on how to build equity and how to be businessmen and women and you know technicians of some kind, and start from there with the young generation, and work your way that way. And I think that would be a reasonable step in the right direction. Um, when you want to talk about that, another thing that people are bringing up is about the Irish heritage and stuff like that. I get it. I understand. Like, how what was it? Why don't you just suck it up and stop complaining and work hard like everybody else? Everybody else can sit back and trace their heritage, trace who their people were, you know, and kind of have some kind of pride in that, you know, as far as you know, who they were before they were brought here as, you know, slaves, or if they immigrated to the United States, they can look back at, you know, where they're from. You can take one of those, you know, DNA test things, and you're like, oh, you came from a region of West Africa. You know how many fucking tribes there are in Africa right now? How many tribes there were back then? You know what I'm saying? So that really doesn't help. And they use the argument that, you know, well, black people were enslaving, they were the ones catching their own people and selling them off. No, yes and no. It was a specific group of people that they were catching and um, selling into slavery. A specific group. Feel free to Google that one. I know some of my people out there on my feed know what group of people I'm talking about. But that's a separate conversation. Um, but yeah, man, you know, we don't have that. You know what I'm saying? All we have is what Christians beat into our people and forced us to believe. And you, I cringe every time I see, you know, I'm not going to knock anybody's faith, but it's just one of those things where it's like, this wasn't us before our people were brought here. It was beat into us. And our people continue that trend. And it's kind of disappointing, not to know where you're from and what your identity is, outside of where it started from in the United States, because where it started from a very negative and dark place. But yeah, man, just, you know, think about that. Let the conversation happen, and offer up ideas instead of just bitching about it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think there's a lot of good that can come from that conversation, and a lot of productivity that can come from it, that can help a lot of people out, and help us all as a nation. You know, that's the bottom line. But that's just my 2 cents. You know what I'm saying?